and I am also the former director of the Mayor's Office for Immigrant Advancement for the City of Boston. And I'm really thrilled to have you all here today. We know that diversity in clinical trials and studies across all disciplines really has been a challenge. And I think this has really been highlighted in the past few years as with the urgent development of the COVID-19 vaccines, and now and with the monkeypox vaccine and so forth. And I think, we are excited to have this opportunity to talk about what are those challenges and how we can address them. And so we're excited. I have two powerhouse women with me here today, Carolina Larco, who is the co-founder of Latinos in Bio, and Josiane Martinez, who is the CEO and founder of ASG. So I think it's going to be a great discussion, and I thank all of you for being here. Now I'm just going to quickly review the agenda. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as I mentioned, Carolina will introduce herself, and then and Josiane, and we'll talk about the cost of delay in diversity in clinical trials, along with how we can address reaching out to BIPOC communities across disciplines. And ASG is going to give some examples of how they've done that. So thank you very, very much. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Carolina.
Thank you, Alejandra, and thank you, ASG, for partnering with Latinos in Bio in this important conversation about how to improve the diversity of the clinical trials in the biopharma industry. Welcome to all participants. On behalf of Latinos in Bio, we want to thank you for taking time of your busy agenda to log into this webinar. For those of you who do not know Latinos in Bio, we are a pioneer and first-in-kind organization of Latino leaders and professionals in biotech and the life sciences in general. We actually started in Massachusetts, but we are now nationwide. As of yesterday, we have 660 members, and we have become a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are dedicated to creating opportunities for success and amplifying the social capital of Latinx professionals in the biotech, pharma, medical technology, and other fields within the life sciences industry. By doing so, we really want to make a meaningful impact in the industry and in the United States. We know that Latinos are underrepresented in our industry, so we want to put more Latinos in positions of leadership within the companies. And with that, we want to make sure that the biopharma workforce reflects the demographics of the country. So without further ado, I want to introduce Josiane Martinez, founder and CEO of Archipelago Strategies Group, and she will introduce ASG. Thanks, Josiane.
Thank you so much, Carolina, and thank you so much to Latinos in Bio for the opportunity to partner with you to talk about this important issue. I'm Josiane Martinez. I'm the CEO and founder of ASG. Before I founded ASG, I was the executive director of the Massachusetts Office for Refugees and Immigrants. And I founded ASG because I thought that good ideas, good people, good products were not being sold to the growing multicultural communities in New England. So ASG is a full service marketing firm, and our focus is marketing with purpose. We spend a lot of time taking apart very important social issues in our community, using marketing to change those challenges and create opportunities for the people who don't have access to those. We believe that marketing can be used to create a more equitable common good. And as you can see, we were founded in 2013. We are 100% minority-owned company, and we have been named Minority Business of the Year by the SBA. And this year, we made the 50 fastest growing companies by the BBJ, ranking number 5, believe it or not, in Massachusetts. Thank you, Caro. Next slide, please. So ASG has served more than 200 clients in Massachusetts and in New England. Like I said, we partnered with people who really want to live those who are you serving in a better place. We want to see our community succeed, and we will partner with people who have the same vision for them. Next, please.
Wonderful. I think this is my slide, Josiane. So, diving into our topic today, so diverse clinical trials. So what is the cost of delay? So an estimated 85%, so more than 80% of all clinical trials will actually experience delays, with 94% being delayed by over a month. And all of us who work in the biopharma industry, we understand how much that costs companies every day, basically, and every year. And according to Forbes, this is a giant issue. So if we want to be patient-centric and we want to have truly decentralized clinical trials with patients that reflect the community and the demographics of the community, we need to think about maybe reaching out to companies like ASG who know how to get to the people of color communities, who know how to engage with them, how to launch educational campaigns, because they have been doing a lot of public health campaigns, which are basically were launched during the COVID pandemic, and they were successfully enrolling people of color or encouraging people of color to go for the vaccine. So let me give you a couple of examples in the next slide. So for example, we do know that Moderna slowed their coronavirus vaccine trial enrollment to ensure minority representation. And this was driven basically both by internal pressure from the CEO and the executives, but also from the government, who actually mandated or encouraged Moderna, I would say, to include more people of color in their vaccine trials for COVID. And we know that this costed Moderna basically a delay in the clinical trial, and also maybe launching after Pfizer and that other vaccine. So I think that it is key for the industry to consider strategies and plans in their clinical development program to actually include or reach out to minority communities to make sure that they are in the strategy, in the clinical development program, together with the sites that are conducting the clinical trial, make sure that enrollment is across all of the communities and all ethnicities and races. Thank you. Next slide. So Josiane, how does ASG engage harder to reach diverse audiences for your work in the public health sector and now the private sector?
Thank you. And we use a strategic approach that is very intentional and inclusive, and I would say it's also authentic. And it's because our campaigns are people-centric, right? The very first thing that we do is to understand our audience and try to understand what are those perceived barriers to, for example, participating in a study. We use that information to create campaigns that inspire people, that motivate people to make changes or to participate or to get engaged. And then we use different techniques such as media, social media, and we actually also own a contact center, and we have people in our communities who help drive that message and help mobilize communities. This is what we call our secret sauce: discover, inspire, connect, and mobilize.
Wonderful. And so how do you operationalize this?
So once we have the information, once we do our homework, once we are given an audience, and this is the target, for example, that we need to engage, and once we make sure that we test those messages with them and make sure that they resonate, then we launch, right? We launch a campaign that educates folks in the different geographic areas where they live. We use, like I said, people in our contact center and those outreach workers who live in these cities to recruit folks. And in this case, let's make an assumption that we're recruiting for a clinical trial or maybe for a qualitative study. We recruit, we screen to make sure that these candidates could be subjects or meet the criteria to be subjects. In many cases, we facilitate those conversations, whether they are focus groups, whether they are interviews, surveys, or even when it's a trial, we can coordinate when people visit, what kind of sample they have to provide, when they have to come back to the center. We get the data and we also report on that data. Our data and analysis team can put together reports very specific about this community and what we learned through the study.
Sounds wonderful. And can you give us some examples of campaigns that have actually had successful results in the community?
Sure. So in the next slide, I'll give you an example of a state campaign for the Department of Public Health of Massachusetts. We were actually hired by Governor Baker to help put together the Vaccine Equity Initiative. And basically, we put together a campaign which intended to educate people in low vax communities. There were around 20 of those low vax communities, and guess what? They were the most diverse communities in the state, to people who speak English as a second language. It's in a way the same people that we're trying to find for these trials, right? And so what we put together was an integrated campaign and recruited a number of community outreach workers and door knockers to go out there and talk to people directly. Another thing that we did, Carolina, was that we recruited influencers from the Brazilian community, from the Latino community, from the Haitian community, and some of them are actually in the audience right now, Dr. Florescent, Pastor Florescent, and they delivered the message to their own community in their language, basically telling people, I am afraid to, but I'm going to do it because it's important for me, it's important for my family, and it's important for my community.
Great. Wonderful. Yeah, the educational component is just huge here.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that people understood that the vaccines were safe, number one, that the vaccines were available near them, and that it was important to keep our communities and families safe by taking the vaccine. And that was like a unison message that was delivered by these individuals. In the next slide, I also have an example of a localized campaign, right? And this was with the department, the Commission of Public Health in Boston, where again, we created a campaign. We were tasked with developing the message for the campaign. The campaign message was derived from primarily the research that we did with the audience. And this was a citywide media buy that was coupled with vaccine clinics and events in our community, in the center of these communities, with, again, a very culturally appropriate way to reach out to our communities and make sure that they feel welcome, and that we are able to fight hesitancy right there. And then in the next example, I can tell you that we did this also with a private corporation, which was the case of our mobile vaccine access. But this was the first time that we tried to move the vaccines outside of where those first centers were, into the community. So most of you could remember that when Massachusetts started delivering the vaccines, there were about 5 centers. And then we started thinking about how do we take these vaccines to the community. So this project in 2021 with Tufts Health Plan and Harvard Pilgrim was to create a mobile vaccination campaign. And we brought that mobile vaccination campaign to East Boston. We brought it to Chelsea. We brought it to many other cities with low vax rates. And we put together in less than 2 months, 33 clinics with 60% of those vaccines going to those that are hard to reach in our target demographics.
Wonderful, wonderful examples of these, private and public health campaigns. I think this would be really useful for companies to consider when actually starting to plan or embark on a clinical trial with patients. So, well, now I think this is like we are up to the end of our slide deck, and now we can go into the Q&A session. So if participants can put in the Q&A app in the bottom of your screen some of your questions, and either Josiane or myself will answer them. Let me see, we have one question here. So an anonymous attendee, how do you identify and understand the concerns and barriers to overcome when engaging with diverse communities? So we're going to answer this live.
Okay, sure. So so I identify as she, her, ella, but I am also part of the LGBTQ community, and I'm a proud Puerto Riqueña Latina. And how do I understand the concerns and barriers of the community and how to overcome them? Because I have overcome them myself, but also because we employ qualitative research, right? And quantitative research to really get to the deepest part of the minds and understand what are some of those concerns, right? And then use the different pieces of marketing to try to overcome those, whether that is promotion, whether that is education, whether that is price, whether that is the strategy of distribution. That's what we do with our campaigns.
Okay, and can you give us an example of concerns that the Latino community has, when you talk to them about the vaccine, for example, or a clinical trial? What are the concerns they have about experimental drugs that prevent them from actually volunteering for participation in this trial?
I mean, I think there are a number of those, right? First of all, I think it's complete unawareness, right? Of the I don't know what's gonna happen, right? I haven't done it. I haven't seen it happen that fast before, so I have to wait. So it's not necessarily hesitancy, it's more like delaying until they can see proof. There's also religious concerns. There are people who are misinformed also by the media and by what is posted on social media, what we call fake news. There's a number of concerns, right? There's also the concern of, if I get this vaccine, am I going to get sick and I'm going to lose work, right? So those are very valid concerns of folks, and that we are able to work around and work with them and work with members of the community to talk about the benefit of being vaccinated, right? Or entering in a trial that will have, a significant impact in their communities.
Exactly. So how do you build trust within diverse communities? For example, Cape Verdeans or Dominicans or any other communities of color?
Well, we have a very diverse team, right? We our team, I would say more than 65% of our team is either Latino, Cape Verdean, Haitian. We speak Spanish, Portuguese, Haitian Creole, Chinese, and we also are unapologetic about partnering with people in our community who speak those languages. We have, like I said, Kike Florescent in the audience today. He's a great influencer in the community. We don't go to communities to try to impose education. Our motto really is people from the community educating the community, and that's how we gain trust.
Wonderful. So I have another question here from the audience. What campaign do you think that the DPH, I'm assuming the Department of Public Health, can establish to provide the wraparound services to the underinsured and uninsured populations?
Yeah, and I think there are a number of campaigns that the state has. The Massachusetts Health Connector has worked, to really get people insured through the years. But there will be many changes, and this is a good point that Pastor Kiki Florescent is bringing, because for those of you who know a little bit about the changes in Medicaid, there will be a redetermination process in the new year, where people who have been accessing Medicare or Mass Health, we know it in the state, have been accessing because of the public health emergency. Once that public health emergency ends, many millions of people in the United States, and about 800,000 in Massachusetts, will have to go through a redetermination. Actually, it's 2 million. My staff is telling me in Massachusetts will have to go through the redetermination process. So there will be a need, Pastor Florescent, to have a comprehensive campaign to make sure that people don't lose access to the during that process.
Perfect. Okay, very interesting. I did not know that. So is your team able to call, communicate directly with diverse communities and members of the community, patients or investigators in the clinical sites, for example?
Yes, our team is fully, like I said, speak many languages, but also we're from the communities that we're serving, right? We're not coming from anywhere. I mean, nothing wrong about outsourcing. I'm not criticizing, but these are people from Massachusetts serving folks of Massachusetts, and they're also HIPAA certified. As I said, we have a call and contact center with inbound and outbound calls, secure text messages. We can support consumer research, surveys, provide reminders of upcoming events, as well as help people fill out applications.
Wonderful. And would you encourage biopharma companies, so in the private industry now, would you encourage them to look for help in terms of reaching out to the communities of color when they are trying to enroll into a clinical trial? Maybe, biopharma companies or CROs, clinical research organizations, should also make a better effort to reach out to these communities with educational campaigns. What are your pieces of advice that you would give to these companies?
So listen, this is as much as benefiting the communities that we care about, so that these drugs at the end of the day, can help them solve some medical issues that many of them are suffering in a very disproportionately way. But this is also about economics, right? And making sure that you're able to finish projects on time and on budget. And we're here to partner with you and to provide those kind of specific campaigns that sometimes are very, very micro-targeted, but we have the experience to do, and we'll be more than happy to help and even sit down with you to strategize and what would that look for, for a future project. I think it's important, again, not only for our community, but for the future of the biotech industry in Massachusetts.
Wonderful. So this is so interesting. Well, we're coming up to the end of our webinar, but I also wanted to talk to these companies that are participating today to make sure that in order to overcome the challenges of engaging diverse communities, I would like to encourage biopharma companies to truly hire and recruit and train more people of color and bring them to their workforce and to their teams, because these people will bring different perspectives, these people will bring ideas and will bring the skills that are necessary to actually work with companies like ASG or work directly with the communities. And so I'm just going to put a little tag there for Latinos in Bio. Latinos in Bio is actually helping companies diversify their candidate pipeline for the different career opportunities that companies have. So there is a lot of Latino talent out there. There is a lot of good candidates with great skills that can work in biopharma. And I would like to encourage companies to really reach out to Latinos in Bio and other similar organizations to make sure they are recruiting from those candidate pools and make sure they have the right talent. Again, as I said, to our surprise, Latinos in Bio has now more than 660 members, and they are all very qualified. We have people in clinical development, in science, we have people in R&D, we have C-suite level people, we have board members as well. So quite a qualified group of Latino professionals that are looking forward to coming to your company and helping you in these different strategies that are for more diversification of the approach, right? And thank you, Buford Florisan. He says, thank you for your colossal work among the immigrant communities. So thank you, and thanks all the participants for participating. Actually, we are at the end of our panel here, our question and answer session. So if we could put up a slide with contact information so people can reach out to us. There will be an email follow-up sent out to all participants. In case you want to reach out to either ASG or to Latinos in Bio, please make sure you contact us. You can contact Josiane, who is again CEO and founder of ASG, or myself. I'm the co-founder actually and past chair of Latinos in Bio. So we truly want to encourage all of you to work with people that are in the community and that are Latinos. I myself am Peruvian, and to work with us in order to reach out to communities of color in a more effective way and in a more cultural appropriate way, if you will. So thank you so much. Josiane, you want to say a couple words?
Well, I just want to thank you, Carolina, because you are such a great mentor. And, I do encourage companies to reach out to Latinos in Bio and sit down about how they can help with just finding those candidates, those diverse candidates that you're looking for. And ASG is here as well to partner with you and help you think through those challenges and help you put together a strategy that works for you and works for our community. Thank you again. And I hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.